like clock, I can't stop. Fuck around, make my 40 pop. No popcorn, I pop pistols, reaming my body.
Alright guys, I'm going to talk about episode 193. Now this episode is going to be adapting chapter 26 of the Boruto manga, and to this day I think it's probably one of the more satisfying chapters of the Boruto manga that does not really include a lot of fighting or any fighting pretty much. But before I get into the manga review of this chapter, which is pretty much going to tell you guys a lot of things that are going to happen in this episode, of course the anime is known to add a couple of things and take a couple of things of course for the better, but regardless I do want to read the spoilers of this episode first. That was translated by Organic Dinosaur of course. Now into the actual paragraph, it says Kawaki possesses a strange seal in his hand which is called Karma. The mysterious boy is also referred to as the vessel by Kata. The five kage have a discussion in order to discuss how to deal with Kawaki. The Hokage Naruto officially becomes responsible for Kawaki and then places him under his direct watch. And so it's been decided for the Konoha village to keep Kawaki within their custody. Despite Naruto immediately bringing Kawaki with him home, Kawaki refuses to divulge any of his true feelings or even mention his own name. Naruto becomes worried about him. Later, Kawaki and Boruto get into a quarrel with one another and then confront each other face to face. A dangerous mood and atmosphere lingers around them. Alright, so this right here actually does vaguely outline exactly what's going to happen. Now before I get into my actual soliloquy about the actual chapter 26 that this episode will be adapting, I do want to kind of talk about actual frames or a couple frames that we did get to see spoiler wise that was actually produced by the Boruto team. Now this right here, this is pretty much Boruto versus Kawaki. This right here will not be in the next episode, or I don't think it will be in the next episode. I give like a 10% chance that this will actually happen in the next episode. This right here is probably going to happen later on, and the reason why I'm saying that is because of course this is going to be adapting chapter 26, and this right here does not happen in chapter 26. But of course there is a small possibility that this is going to be the case, mainly because the early parts of chapter 6 did actually happen in the last episode of Boruto. So we have absolutely no idea. We can't necessarily say for 100% certain that this right here will not actually spill over into chapter 27 and then adapt a little bit of that. To talk about chapter 26, one of the more important parts of chapter 26 was the five kage summon. This is the five kage summon that basically told us exactly what they were going to be able to do with Kawaki. Naruto himself was a very huge proponent of having Kawaki stay with him. Now at this particular time, I talked about this in one of my previous videos from the fans, it was very criticized, and Shikamaru in this episode is going to tell Naruto that this is going to be extremely dangerous. He's also going to talk about how he could potentially even be a spy for the Kata organization. Now the rest of the kage though, they pretty much took Naruto's side, and I don't necessarily want to say the rest of the kage male because it wasn't necessarily all five of them, which is super funny, and they actually called it a unanimous decision. Naruto said that he was a Jinchuriki once, so he wanted Kawaki not to be held in a cage. God said the same thing, man, because he was a Jinchuriki as well. Darui agreed, man, because he spent a lot of time around Killer Bee, and so by proxy he would have understood what Kawaki was going to feel like in a cage like that. Now in the actual chapter, Chojuro and the Tsuchikage, they didn't necessarily give an answer, but it's kind of funny because they actually did say, hey, it was a unanimous decision. I think the reason why they said it was a unanimous decision is if Naruto, Gaara, and of course Darui, the three strongest kages, actually did say that this is going to be the situation, they didn't even have to hear the opinions of the other two kage, which is kind of really hilarious. But of course Naruto did actually give his reasoning. While Naruto was actually in the five kage summit, he said that he was going to be monitoring Kawaki at all times, and they even had a surveillance feed on Kawaki too, where Naruto, or possibly the original Naruto, was by Kawaki's side. So of course Naruto was planning on using shadow clones for all of his other activities and all of his other duties, and the original Naruto was always going to be by Kawaki's side. Now in this episode, 3 times is going to be very hilarious. Kawaki basically tries to escape Naruto's custody. The first time that Kawaki tries to escape was when he woke up in the hospital and Shikamaru stopped him. Of course obviously he wasn't going to be able to escape mail because Naruto, Shikamaru, and Konohama were there. Shikamaru just stopped him with the shadow paralysis jutsu. Now we don't really know if it's going to be the exact same way in the Boruto anime, because as I said, the Boruto anime changes a couple of things. But the second time that Kawaki tries to escape, they were basically walking to Naruto's house, and of course Naruto was kind of walking ahead of Kawaki mainly because Naruto has to lead the way. Kawaki doesn't know how to go to Naruto's house, so Kawaki tries to dip, which is funny because Kawaki ran in a straight line and Naruto caught up to him in like 5 seconds. This is like one of the first times that Kawaki actually did see how fast and potentially even how strong Naruto was, and he was completely caught off guard and shocked about how fast Naruto moved. Now the third time, this right here is going to be one of the most controversial, one of the best times in terms of actual action in the Boruto episode. Naruto and Kawaki get to their house. Hinata laid down some tea. She's about to start giving them the dinner, and then Kawaki basically starts to analyze the situation. He basically tells himself there's 2 enemies and there's 2 ways to exit. He also says that there is a third enemy with the lighter footstep in the hallway. That third enemy, hilariously, is going to be Himawari, which obviously has zero chance against Kawaki, so Kawaki tries to escape. Kawaki flips a table, which indirectly breaks a vase, which is going to be a very big point in the upcoming episodes of Boruto, but Naruto immediately enters KCM mode. Now after Naruto entered KCM mode, Kawaki immediately stopped. He understood that he wasn't going to be able to get away from Naruto, and then Kawaki himself asked himself if Naruto is actually going to be stronger than Jigen himself, which is like one of the first times that we do actually get some sort of confirmation or some sort of power scaling of the leader of the Kage organization. Now at this point, everybody thought that of course Naruto is going to be stronger than Jigen. Of course, we have absolutely no idea anime wise if he's actually still going to be stronger than Jigen, but from what we know, I mean, obviously Naruto is the strongest character alive as of right now, so there's a very good chance that Naruto is going to be stronger than the leader of the Kage organization. But Kawaki doesn't know that. Kawaki's like walking around thinking, oh, the strongest people that I know of is going to be the members of the Kage organization. And the funny thing was, when Naruto actually asked Kawaki his name, Kawaki was telling Naruto like, hey, why are you questioning me? Are you trying to gather intel about the Kage organization? Then Naruto basically put him at ease and said, no, I'm trying to protect you from the Kage organization. Kawaki told Naruto that, hey, you're trying to weed out the Kage organization and draw them towards you. I don't think that anybody here is strong enough to actually take on the Kage organization. Now at that point, Kawaki didn't know how strong Naruto was. At this point, he still doesn't necessarily know how strong Naruto is. He just now seen Naruto's KCM mode, which obviously makes Naruto seem completely different. Regular Naruto looks extremely goofy. He didn't even realize Naruto was actually the Hokage. It changes almost everything. Then Himawari walks in, then Boruto walks in. I think once Himawari and Boruto walked in, Kawaki started to feel a bit at home because of course he saw some other children. We've seen Kawaki's backstory. We've seen that Kawaki had nothing like this. He's seen no semblance of a family. He was pretty much the only child with a very abusive father, and then he goes to the Kage organization, which obviously is nothing like a family, and now he's in a situation with a father, a mother actually handing out dinner, a younger child and a child his age, and they're all like fine. They're not necessarily slaving and laboring like Kawaki himself was. So I think because of that, he kind of softened up a bit. And of course, when Boruto walked in, everything hit the fan. We talked about in the spoilers, this right here was the disagreement with Boruto and Kawaki. As soon as Boruto seen the vase that was destroyed on the floor, he basically approached Kawaki and confronted him, got in his face, and basically told him like, hey, that vase was Himawari's birthday present to his mom. And some people might actually say because Boruto was about to fight Kawaki, then that's when Kawaki felt a little bit at home. But after that disagreement, after they basically confronted each other, Kawaki told Boruto his name, which is the first time that Naruto, Himawari, and Hinata actually heard what Kawaki's name was. Boruto, I believe, kind of understood or possibly even came by his name before in the past, mainly because Garo yelled his name right before they did fight. But regardless, now everybody in the family knows Kawaki's name. But at the end of the chapter, it seems like Kawaki's still a little bit more warm to the idea of actually staying with Naruto, Himawari, Hinata, and of course Boruto. I think at this particular point, it's going to be a culture shock for Kawaki. We've seen from the last episode, Kawaki's backstory was absolutely nothing like this. He's never really seen a stable father, a stable mother, and stable children around him. This right here is going to be completely different to him, and of course, because of that, I think this situation right here is going to be very important to him in the future. I really want to know how this goes, man, because this right here is going to definitely shape the overall future of Kawaki. And of course, we understand that Kawaki from the first episode ends up betraying Boruto and Naruto. But let me know what you guys think about this episode right here. As I said, this episode is going to be one of the more satisfying, non-violent episodes that we do see in the Boruto anime for a very long time. But it's been your boy Baara, and we out.
It's a knife.